And good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a brand new show. This is called Hammer the Point. Okay, this is a new weekly show, Ray, every Tuesday, Wednesday here if you're in the UK. Haven't got the girls this week, unfortunately, but they have been so in demand, they have got their own show. They've gone above me now. They've gone above me, boys. I can't believe it. Anyway,
created a monster, Ray.
they've got their own show, chocolate fingers. They've got it all. I don't know what it is, but I am privileged to have the boys back in town. So I have got tonight, Wally. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying. You know, the liquor stores are still closed in Pennsylvania, but I have found 3 different local distillers, one of which will deliver vodka to our house. So
that's amazing.
We are surviving by the skin of our teeth.
Brilliant. Obviously, we've got Irish Tommy from Tipperary. Just found that one out. How are we doing, Irish Tommy?
Doing well, all things considered, yeah. So hanging in there. So I'm going to be back to work next Monday, so that's good.
And
Finally
the
get
Irish
back
have
out.
even better news, haven't they? Because they've been told that their bars are probably going to be opening first. What's all that
Well,
about?
it's Ireland. Ireland, yeah, the bars are the priority. Let's get those open.
I agree with that.
First things first, you know.
We've also got tonight, we've got Chris. Chris, you were just FaceTiming your mum. Are you back from this one?
What's that?
How are you, buddy?
Not too bad. I keep joking about it to a few people, but my background is ever changing. I'm back in Erie again just for the night, just checking on the apartment, then head back in the morning. But also happy because bars start opening up next Friday for us. So
Nice.
Where in Erie or no? In
Ohio.
Oh, okay. Because Erie's in Pennsylvania, and if
Yep.
I'll be upset if bars open out in the western part and not here.
Love it. Also, we want to know, how's your mum doing, Chris? Is she okay?
She's good.
Good, perfect. And then just below me, we have a top lad. No introduction needed, but it's our boy Charlie. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm all right. Same background as usual. The only thing that does change on my background is that whiteboard. I change it most shows, right? You don't notice it because it's just there. And it's so small on your screen, you don't see it. But I do change it most shows. At the moment, it just has a Hugel shirt with the word GOAT written on it. But it might change at some point. You never know. Keep an eye out if you're watching. Little cheeky Easter egg for you there. Cheeky Easter egg.
Cheeky little Easter egg. Have a look. Right. Let's just move on to a bit of housekeeping. Guys, don't forget to go to a website where you can get this lovely T-shirt that I'm modelling tonight. Look at that. That's not bad.
There you go.
Nice.
You know, not only that, I was lucky enough to get from Tim when he was down here a little hammer scarf.
Brilliant.
I got it off my wall in the office so I can have something to promote. So look at that. That's all good.
Very nice.
American Hours. So don't forget, go to our store, please. Buy something on the show and help us out. Also, we would like you also to go to our Twitter page where you can look through all the other shows that we post on a daily basis. Did I just hear someone pop into the room? No.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So, just come support the network. Go on to Hammers Polls, all that good stuff. Just follow it all on our Twitter page. Right, lads, let's get into the first bit of news. Right, with the German club being the first one to open, or maybe, who are you going to be as your German club? Are you going to support a German team? Wally, let's start with you.
Yeah, I heard this. I heard some talk about Augsburg, and I guess Reese Oxford plays for them. I guess is that our only West Ham connection in the Bundesliga? So I may have to support them, but the Red Bull Leipzig is very tempting because I want to see how Red Bull operates a club, and see if they're, legit operation, and maybe they might, come in and also take us over. But anyway, so I'm looking at those two sides at the current time, and I have a few days to decide finally. So
Yeah. Let me just get rid of that dodgy earwax app.
I was going to say.
Don't ask Ray about earwax. He's been going on at me about earwax. It's a whole thing. You don't need to know. You don't need to
You may want to check on Irish Tommy too. He might be back.
You had to talk to his mom, right?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, don't worry about it, Tommy. We'll talk to you in a sec. Chris, who are you going to support in the Bundesliga?
I've always kind of had a affinity towards Dortmund for the primary reason that I still, even though he's with Chelsea now, I still associate Christian Pulisic with Dortmund. So I've always had an affinity towards them. So I think I'm just going to stick with that.
Okay. Charlie, who are you edging towards?
Well, the two West Ham connections I can think of in Germany are Oxford at Augsburg and Habard Nordveit, who is at Hoffenheim. They're the two I can think of off the top of my head. There might be another one out there, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I likewise have an affinity for Dortmund, which started when Thomas Rosicky was playing for them before Arsenal. And there's something about tricky attacking midfielders like that I do love. Then they had like Shinji Kagawa, flipping not Ozil, Goetze before he went to Dortmund, before he went to Munich, and that. There's something about those sort of runners I like. So I've always had an affinity, and their stadium's great, and their kit's great. I just like
their fans are great.
Yeah. It's one of the stadiums I wish I could go to in Europe. Like if I was to go on a sort of European footballing holiday, that would be like one of the tentpole destinations I would like to go to. Would be seeing Dortmund at home. So yeah, but I will watch whichever is the best match of the weekend. Really, that's the plan. If it's Dortmund versus someone rubbish, then I might not watch it. If you see, I don't know, Munich versus someone decent, Schalke, then I'll watch that instead.
Like you're thinking, all right. Irish Tommy, who's back with us. Have you got any affiliation, any team that you like to support in the Bundesliga?
No affiliations. Don't really watch Bundesliga, to be honest. Never really have. But I think, like Chris and Charlie, I just always liked Dortmund. Like that stadium, as Charlie was saying, the fans are unbelievable. The atmosphere in there is incredible. It's definitely a stadium that everyone should try and watch a game in if they can. Also, the colours are really great. I love the kits. And I always felt like, even though I know they're a big side in Germany, I always felt like they were a little bit of an underdog, where they were always trying to kind of catch up to Bayern and trying to kind of usurp them, and for a long time could never really get there, and were always playing second fiddle. So I kind of started rooting for them. And then I can't remember what year, maybe Charlie will help, or Wally or someone. Was it 97 they made the Champions League final? Something around there. They actually played in the Champions League final, and I think it was maybe even against Bayern, and they lost it or something. And I was like, oh God, not again. So I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for Dortmund.
I like it. Well, yeah, I do like it all. And me, I have sold my soul to the devil. Yes, I'm going to have to support Red Bull. One, because they give me free stuff. Two, I sell their stuff. And three, come on, buy West Ham. Hopefully, that
Exactly.
I'm really impressed by their models. I would like to see them come in and do what we actually, and that's saying that Moyes is quite interesting.
I have a quick question about this. My understanding is that if you can't own two clubs that play against each other in Champions League, can you?
No.
Like if there was an RB Leipzig and an RB West Ham, for example, like they couldn't actually play each other in the Champions League, and I don't know how that would
Or
affect the
RB Leipzig
competition.
and RB Salzburg, as has happened this season. I mean, the thing is RB Leipzig aren't technically owned by Red Bull, hence them not being called Red Bull Leipzig. They are owned by employees of Red Bull, which is how they get around the German 50+1 rule. The bigger problem would be Salzburg, because Salzburg are very openly and clearly Red Bull Salzburg, who are also in European competitions. That's where a big problem would come. But I mean,
But how do UEFA deal with that, basically? What if we qualified for the Champions League
They don't.
as RB West Ham, and we're in a group with Salzburg? I mean,
The truth is,
against the-
let's be real, it's just wherever the money is, that's where they go, innit? Also, Ray, before you say something, I've come up with another West Ham German connection. And
Go.
it kicked off in the back of my mind, and so I just had a little Google. Savio Nasurko, yes, that one, our record signing who was that trash, is currently playing in the German, I think, 5th or 6th tier. So there you go. There's another German connection that I've just thought of. So you're welcome, everyone. You're welcome. Also, Tommy, yeah, it was 97 Dortmund were in the final. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's quite interesting. You know, a little bit of knowledge there. Thank you, Charlie.
That's what I bring. That's what I bring.
What I was gonna say was, with the German league starting before all the others, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that league now. So, are they going to be the potential new Super League coming up? Where it started off in the 90s, it was a bit of Italy was the Super League, and then it moved over to the Premier League because that was brand new and stuff like that. Do you think it could be the German ones could start taking more of an interest, and a lot of eyes around the world will start watching that more than say the Premier League? I don't know. Wally, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, we get the Bundesliga here on, I think, Fox Sports,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and they had it before. They had the Premier League before NBC took it over. So I think there's a little bit of it's kind of a head-to-head competition. So like here on NBC we have Rebecca Lowe. She kind of runs the halftime and the pregame, and over on the Fox side they have a woman very attractive. So they're both kind of like, I think they're challenging each other. So I think having the Bundesliga pop up early will definitely help Fox Sports with their football coverage, and maybe it'll take one over on the get back some of the audience share from the Premier League. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Same question to you, Chris. Do you reckon they will have more eyes on, especially since the other thing to look at as well? The Germans have been one of the most successful coronavirus containers throughout the whole the old endemic. So, do we think a lot more players be like, "Oh, okay, well, I might go to Germany more than any other country because we know that they can handle if a mass thing like this happens again"? What do you reckon, Chris?
In terms of it becoming like the Super League, like taking over the Premier League, I don't see it happening. I think it will for the short term because everyone's so sports deprived. I mean, it's a little dose, or at least some sort of sports on television. So I mean, everyone's going to be turning into it. I'd even suggest, or I'd even say that like football supporters are going to be watching it just because it's sports. And here in America too, I don't know too many people who watch the Bundesliga. I think it was bigger when Pulisic was at Dortmund, like that American connection, like the next great star for the American national team is playing there. So I think that's why it was getting so much attention. But since he's now in the Premier League, same kind of thing. And with the players, I mean, the money's just isn't in the Bundesliga. So there's still, if a player has a choice between the Bundesliga and the Premier League, more than likely they're going to go to the Premier League because you can get more money there.
Yeah. Charlie, your views?
Yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for them to show what they're about, because I think the Bundesliga is really, really smart, which is a dumb thing to say, but like not just the clubs and the way they work, but also the way they promote themselves is really, really good. They have a really good presence on social media. You look at all of the English accounts for every single team are run by people who clearly have senses of humor, but also are just like really good at appealing to fans from from non-German speaking countries. Their YouTube channel is excellent. They make really good stuff on their YouTube channel. They're really approachable for watching. They do everything right in a way of someone who would be wanting to get into it for the first time. So if you're a first-time viewer and you see a game and you enjoy it, say you would watch a Dortmund game, watch a Munich game, you think, oh, that was really enjoyable, and then you look up their social media stuff, you look up their stuff on YouTube, it's a really big opportunity for them, and they always are really good at putting their best foot forward. Will it ever take over the Premier League or become the best new thing? Nah, never, because the Premier League's got so much money in it, as Chris has just alluded to. It's unfathomable that would fall apart, but it could be a situation where, say, if you just never watch foreign football, if you just watch English football, and then you watch, and you might go, oh, actually, I'll watch the Bundesliga if it's on BT Sport or Sky Sports or Fox or wherever it might be. It might be something where you tune in every now and then. It's a great opportunity for them to gain a bigger fan base, and it should be, because the league is incredibly well run. The 50+1 wall is brilliant. The clubs are very well run individually, and it deserves more support than it gets, to be honest.
Oh, thank you very much. Tommy, what was your view?
Yeah, it's a very good league. As Charlie's saying, very well run. Some really good teams in there. Teams that people were already, quite a few of them are already somewhat familiar with because of Champions League. So it's not entirely alien to people. They will know some of the teams, they'll know some of the players. But while it's the only show in town, and obviously it's going to get a lot of eyes, but once the Premier League is back up and running, it's still going to be the big dog. It's still going to attract most of the attention and the viewers. Bundesliga really has no chance of overtaking the Premier League in that respect in the long term. So, I don't think the Premier League needs to worry too much, to be honest. It will be a temporary kind of time in the spotlight for the Bundesliga, but it won't last too long.
I was also going to point this out too. I just looked it up to make sure. La Liga is also coming back probably before Premier League does. They're slating for return June 12th. And so with Tommy, as Tommy said, like the familiarity with some of the teams in Germany and the Bundesliga, I mean, you're going to also have even more fans who are well aware of Real Madrid and Barcelona who are going to be turning into those matches as well. So I think that'll kind of split the viewership a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'd actually watch Bundesliga before La Liga, if I'm honest. I think it's a better style of game to watch in Germany. I do find the Spanish style of play not to be as much to my liking. Even though I know it's very technical and there's a lot of skill there, but I think the German league is a bit more pace and power. It's a little bit more similar to the Premier League than the Liga. So I prefer Bundesliga personally.
Oh, I agree too, but the names Real Madrid and Barcelona are going to attract massive viewership around the world as well.
Yeah. But the other thing is that in the Liga, it is just Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Atletico Madrid as well.
Yeah, but in the Bundesliga, is there more competition or is it just Dortmund and Munich? I don't know.
I would say there's more. I mean, you look at what Ace, you've got Leipzig as well in there. I think everyone sort of overblows. Like Munich are obviously incredibly dominant, and whenever a player becomes really good in Germany, they will be bought by Bayern Munich. That's just the way these things go. It's the way these things happen. You need to get there before Bayern Munich do, or they are snapping him up. But you look at I think every single team in the league, in my opinion, has at least one player you look at and go, oh, maybe I'll take them at West Ham. It's that kind of league where even the lower quality stuff has like a lot of like really well structured things where players thrive. And so it's a lot more balanced in my opinion. Although you still have dominant teams, you have dominant teams in England, you know what I mean? But there's still solid blocks of clubs all the way down, you know?
Yeah, plus in Germany, you can see actually a lot of very good games outside of Bayern. You don't have to watch Bayern every week. You can watch two mid-table Bundesliga teams play, and it's really good stuff to watch.
Good. Okay, cool. Perfect. Just going back to our last question, what I did remember, and I forgot to say this last time, is that Swansea and Cardiff, when they joined the English leagues back in the day, they were told they couldn't join any European competitions because they were a Welsh team, Welsh club. But that was part of their remit. But Swansea did get into Europe one season, and then that got null and void. So I don't know if that will be a similar thing for the Premier League teams, what we was talking about earlier anyway. But yeah. Going on to our next subject, Souček. It looks like it's almost done deal. As long as we stay up. But guys, we've got to be happy to hear this news, haven't we? To say that he's going to be there. Charlie, start with you this time. It's got to be good news all round to have Souček shine for us.
Yeah, the money thing concerns me to an extent, but as a footballing terms, I mean, it's about as easy as this decision is going to get. The dude was immense in the games he played, and he fills the hole that we've been looking for such a horrendously long time. And if it means, the people who complain about Mark Noble, for example, he fills that hole. Just get him in. It's easy. It's an easy win for once. We don't get many of them.
No, we don't. Irish Tommy?
Yeah, this is one even Sullivan can't fuck up, surely. I mean, this is just about as no-brainer as it gets. He's a quality player. We've seen enough. He's only played 3 games, but in those 3 games, I think we saw enough. He looks absolutely quality. And he's obviously very keen to sign. I think he would sign with West Ham without knowing what's happening with regards to staying up or not. He would still sign on the dotted line right now. And clearly, his parent club, who did we get him from again? It was Slavia Prague. Clearly, you're happy to sell him, probably need the money. So they're happy to let him go. So, yeah, let's just get it done now, get it over with, make him a West Ham player, and job done. Yeah.
Chris, what's your views?
I can't say too much more than what Tommy just said. I mean, it's spot on. He wants to play. We only saw him for a handful of matches, and he's better than most center mids than we've seen in quite some time. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Wally, what's your views?
Yeah, I agree. The other thing about him that I really like is he's like captain of the Czech national team. I think he was captain at Prague. So he brings in a leadership quality that I think with Noble kind of fading out, that I think is very important. So yes, it's a no-brainer for me. Bring him in.
Yeah, and I think you hit him down right. There was rumours about making him, a captain for West Ham, which I don't necessarily agree with myself. But what I do like about this is that him and Bowen do seem to have come out and said how settled they are at West Ham already. That says so much about the team atmosphere that they've got going on at the moment, that everyone's made all the new players very welcome in such a short space of time. So that does seem a good thing for me. So, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time we brought in, the 2 players we brought in January actually seemed to, both of them have really worked out, and that's refreshing. I don't know who made that decision, but they're quality.
Hartson and Kitson, when they were brought in by Harry Redknapp, hit the ground running.
Okay.
Scored a bunch of goals, kept us up. That was one of our best January transfer windows. But
yeah, that was before I was born, so I don't remember.
I can think of one guy we bought in January. He's pretty good. I don't know. Outside of that, I don't know.
Has he played a game?
Yeah, 3. He played 3, and they were 22 minutes overall. Thank you very much.
Was Bubbles playing?
12 goals, wasn't it, Charlie?
12 goals in the championship. So 12 goals in all competitions this year. It's fine. It's the highest of any West Ham contracted player. Don't worry about it, Tom. Don't worry about it.
I like it. What I don't like, and something that I'm pretty worried and concerned about, is the fact that West Ham are looking to offload some of their youngsters. Nathan Holland for $1 million. Is this the right time for us to be getting rid of some of our youngsters? Wally, what's your views?
Yeah, I don't think that's smart because there's a chance we might get relegated. So I think we certainly would need our youngsters if that would happen. And the team is getting Snodgrass, Noble, all these Yarmolenko. We got a lot of old guys on the team, so I like the idea of having some young talent around, and I don't think it really cost us a whole lot to have them, and if we're only selling them for £1 million, I don't see why we would do that, to be honest.
Yeah, there's got to be players that we've got to get rid of before we get rid of some of these youngsters. What's your views?
So for me, it goes a little bit bigger on that as well, besides the chance of relegation. I mean, we're West Ham. We never have any funds for transfer windows. Now with how much money they might be deducted, or how much money we might end up losing out on, we might not be able to bring in any replacements whatsoever. So if we're not able to replace them, then why are we shipping them out? We're going to make it worse on ourselves next season, especially with the likes of Sanchez, Zabaleta leaving. Looks like Lanzini and Yarmolenko might be going. If they're dead wood, that's fine. But if it's just a youngster trying to get them off the books, then it makes no sense because we're going to have serious squad depth issues next season.
I don't know if I should tell people about my ears issue, but I'll save that. I think I'll save that. Charlie, what do you reckon about?
Yes, that's Patreon content, Ray. You got to put that behind a paywall. People want to know. Yeah, I agree. Like, the thing is there are certain ones I wouldn't be adverse to getting rid of, or not getting rid of, seeing leave. There are other ones I wouldn't mind seeing going on loan. But ultimately, if it's a choice between, say, Cullen and Sanchez, I know who I'm picking every time. If it's a difference between, I don't know. There's some obvious players there who should be getting chances, and then there's people like Diangana who are ready to have a shot at the first team full time. So just getting rid of all of them in some mad fire sale makes no sense, especially when every summer we get to this stage, and every summer we start to hear people go, "Oh, we're going to have to cull the wage books. We have to fix the wage books." What kind of fixing of the wage books is it if Yarmolenko on 100 grand stays, but Diangana on 20 or whatever he's on goes? When one of them is injured all the time and just sits there and does nothing, it's simple. It's simple maths, and it makes more sense from a team standpoint as well. So getting rid of them just on the basis of they might not be ready is kind of stupid. I think a lot of them are ready to be squad players at the very least.
Yeah, Irish Tommy.
Yeah, this selling Holland for £1 million makes no sense on any level. It would just be a bizarre thing to do and would make absolutely no difference to anything. What are you going to do with £1 million? What difference is that going to make? He's on low wages. He's a very talented youngster who still has the ability to potentially become a first-team regular going forward. So, those are exactly the players we should be looking to hold on to if we're worried about the finances going forward. As Charlie said absolutely correctly, there's other players that should be on the chopping block long before if we ever were to do them in order of necessity, by the time we get down to selling someone like Holland for £1 million, we should be looking at possible liquidation before you say we have to take £1 million now for Holland.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Why not let him get a couple of games under his belt? And, that £1 million starts becoming £5 million. He's got potentially, a great left-sided attacking player to learn off of, Anderson, where he nutmegs players for fun. He does all the trickeries. I was watching Bowen's talking about him, saying how great he is at training and how some of the players just ooze off that and learn off of him. So why don't you take this youngster, get him to learn as much as he possibly can off him, soak him up, put him in a couple of games, put him on the bench, whatever. That £1 million investment turns into be at 5, potentially even 10 million investment. That's what I see it is.
Yeah, look, Diangana is kind of a blueprint, right? So Diangana came into the first team, started off very well, very lively, was playing really well. Over time, he fell off a little bit. I think his performances did fall off a little bit over time. But then we send him down to a good championship side, give him a full season down there, playing every week, and you can see what it's done for him. I mean, he's going to come back to us a completely different player. A better, stronger, more confident, That's the blueprint for Holland. I think, okay, we sent him down to League One, no problem with that. But I think realistically for next season, if we can, we should be looking to send Holland to a good championship side that will play him. A season down there in the championship, playing 46 odd games, fingers crossed he can stay injury free, would do him an absolute world of good, and we'll get a better player back. And he's already very, very promising. So, that's the way to go, in my opinion, for sure, with Holland.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say a full season there, Tommy. Still a bit touchy on that one.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Whatever a full season looks like at that point.
Let's hope we can. But yeah, you're completely and utterly right. He needs to, even if he comes with us and plays a couple of games like Diangana and then goes down in the championship, why not? Let's just give it a go.
Let's put it out there can I put it out there to you guys? Is there a single person here who would have a problem with Holland being a West Ham squad player next season?
No.
I'm not. Here's the thing with him, right? I'm not convinced on him, like on a level where I'm like, I want to see him playing for the West Ham first team consistently. But I've not got a problem lobbing him in there. I wasn't convinced by Diangana until he played. And then he played, and I went, well, clearly the talent is there. It's just about getting a situation where you can get it out of him consistently. Because, like you say, I think towards the end he waned a little bit, right? Like with Holland, I'm not convinced that Holland is this world beater or anything. I'm not convinced that he will have this incredible career or anything. But I look at him and I think, what's there to lose? Like if he's in the squad, he's one of like 18,000 attacking players we have. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it's worth a shot. Because what 1 million, okay, like Ray said, like you say, like if he plays once, all of a sudden that goes up. If he goes to a championship team, all of a sudden that goes up. The point is selling him for 1 million now. If you're not a fire sale, it reminds me of like when we bought Rio Coco when Wimbledon were up when we're in deep trouble. That's what it reminds me of. They were having to fire sale their best young players. It's a different scenario. It's kind of mad to me. It's kind of mad.
And it's not like we're flushed with great talent on the left wing.
Yeah.
Anderson was really poor during the season. Didn't play well at all. It's not Fornell's best position. It's not Snodgrass's best position. We don't have another real obvious option for the left wing after Anderson. Obviously, Masuaku can play okay there, but again, it's not great. So, it might be no harm to have someone like Holland. He's young, he is talented. And, if he's breathing down Anderson's neck, Anderson's not playing well. And Holland is, really putting it in training, on the training pitch and really, chomping at the bit to try and get his chance. You never know what happens when you put these kids in. Sometimes they just grab the opportunity and surprise you at how good they are. And Holland is potentially one of those players.
Yeah. Wally, Chris, you got any you add on? But
I think it's been pretty well covered, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Well, one thing I would say is our attacking players are always injured. So I think the more we have, the better, to be honest,
Very fair point.
Yeah. And I think let's look at Declan Rice. When he was doing his first games for us, scored her own goal. Knocks it, and people were like, give him a chance. Don't get on his back straight away. Give him a chance. And look at him now. Potentially an £80 million player? I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. The next point I would like to hammer is what do we think about Diop going to Spurs? Let's start with you, Wally, this time. What do you think of a potential move for him to go to Spurs?
Well, I think it would depend on how much money we get for him. So anything, above 50, I think I would take. But yeah, anything less, I think he's a good player. He's young, and so I think 50 million might be very tempting and help us out. We've got, I think we've got good cover at center back. So yeah, I think like a number like 50 million I would take.
Yeah. Would you take any less if there was a player thrown in?
Yeah, it depends who the player was. If we had Harry Kane, yeah, maybe I would.
I don't think we're going to get it. I don't think we're going to get Harry Kane, are we? So But Chris, what's your views on it? Diop to Spurs?
So I had seen a tweet about this from, I think it was West Ham Fan Zone, and it's spot on the money for me. He said he wouldn't take less than 50 to 60 million in general for him, but to Spurs, minimum double that. So they better be shelling out the bank if they're going to come for us. Anyone else, if they come for him for 50, 60 million, it's fine. Spurs, they have to spend every penny they have. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't like selling Spurs, but we end up selling Spurs anyway. Charlie, what do you reckon? Diop, they've got a stadium to pay for. Can they afford it?
I don't know. I don't know what their financial situation's like, to be honest. It would make sense if they couldn't, because that stadium is expensive AF, although they've got the NFL to pay for some of it, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't sell him yet, because I think he could be worth more, is what I would say. Unless if they were to come in with a stupidly large bid, I think he could be worth more. And I think it's keeping someone of their age and their ability at that point. If they came in with flipping, I don't know, 80 mil, then yeah, sure, they can bloody have him straight away. If they came in with 70 mil, yeah, they can have him. 60 mil, I'm starting to think about it, but probably still, but he could be worth more. The fact he was getting banded about for more 6-8 months ago shows that he can be worth more. And at his age, all it requires is one big season, and then all of a sudden he's the next Harry Maguire going for stupidly large money. So I would keep him. I would keep him regardless of who's interested, unless it is for big money. Selling to Spurs, I don't really care. It's not that deep. Just if they want him, they can have him. Just pay a lot of money. You can take whoever you want. Really.
Yeah. Irish Tommy, you just cough in and put yourself on silent. Do you think selling to Spurs, and should we put a tax on it?
I'm always loath to sell our best players to Spurs, but again, look, you know my take on this. I've said it before. Every player has a price. If somebody, no matter who they are, wants to come in and pay top dollar for Diop, and it would allow us to go out and not just replace him, but also really strengthen in a couple of other positions, 2, maybe 3 positions, then it's worth doing. But I'm not particularly keen to sell him. I'd be happy for him to stay, because, like Charlie, I think he has a very high ceiling, and he's only going to keep getting better. And I really like him as a player, actually. So I hope we keep him. But if we get top dollar for him, like you say, north of 50 million, I would take it. But as for Tottenham, again, I don't know what their finances are exactly, but it can't be particularly healthy. And I suspect they're going to try and do a part exchange. They'll say, look, we'll throw in Eric Dyer and 20 million. They'll probably give us a derisory offer, I think. I don't think Tottenham have the straight up cash to say there's 50 million quid. I suspect they don't have it. So they're going to look to try and get the better end of a deal against us. So if they were to come in with 20 million plus Dyer, say, tell them to take a run and jump, frankly. No chance, absolutely no chance. I wouldn't accept any Tottenham player coming the other way, because any player that they're willing to send our way, I don't think is a player that we're really going to want or need. So I would say to Tottenham, if they come, say, look, that's our price. It would be premium price, because that's, well, I think it's still the market. We'll see, but we're going to pay top dollar for him, and it's going to be straight up money. We're not interested in any of your players.
Yeah, I could agree more. I would like to see him again with us next season, because I do worry about our centre backs. And if for me, one of our main transfer targets next season is a centre back, is a left back. For me, and that's just my opinion. But maybe Diop can fund them. I don't know. But then we'll still have to get 2 centre backs then, and a left back. But yeah, that's just my point of having. What there has been a lot of chat about this week as well is about the Premier League. What is going to happen? Are they going to be able to finish it? Are they not? Wally, what do you reckon? Do you think the Premier League is going to start back up again, or you think we're going to have to scrap it altogether?
Honestly, I think it's so complicated, and there's so many different plans and doing this and that, and so many factors involved. I think they should have just made a decision, a month ago and scrapped it and focused on starting up, properly next season. And obviously the big point there would then be, what about relegation or whatever? But at least that would be really the only, that, and I guess the TV companies would want their money back. So there's that. But anyway, I think any other thing is so complicated to figure out. And, so I think I have a feeling that they'll mess around so much that they'll run out of time basically. And we'll end up, starting with next season. So.
Yeah. And do you reckon they will relegate any teams because of that?
What will they do? Yeah,
the FA are insisting on it.
Yeah, I guess they will. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Which, and if that becomes the case, West Ham could potentially get relegated because of them doing that points summary.
Right.
Well, there's kind of two ways we can get relegated, really, it seems. One is that we play out the season and just don't get enough points and end up in the relegation zone. And as you were saying, Ray, that doing this points per game system, it depends on how they do it. If they just do it as overall points per games played so far this season, we just about survive, and Bournemouth go down with Villa and Norwich. Excuse me, a bit of a cough. If they do it, the points per game separately on home and away basis, so they tell you your away points per game and your home points per game, we get relegated and Bournemouth survive. So those are the two ways that we could get relegated. But as I say, this is really, really messy now. There are so many things. I mean, all the Premier League clubs have basically said now that they do not want to play at neutral venues. They want it to be the usual home and away. But the government up to now have said they want them played at neutral venues. So now the Premier League has to go back to the government and say, look, we really want to do this on a home and away basis because we think it's a bit fairer than at neutral venues, and see what the government's response is to that first. Then you've got the players. It's unlikely all the players are going to be on board with coming back anytime soon to play. So are you going to have a situation where we have to play games with 8 players who will not play, and we're playing an opponent, say another relegation threatened opponent, who have only 2 players who haven't come back to play, which puts us at a massive disadvantage. And that can happen throughout the league, obviously, with all teams. Some teams will be disadvantaged hugely if they have more of their better players who just don't want to come in and play. And I don't see how you can force them to do it in the circumstances, or really punish them for not wanting to do it. So this is really, really messy. And then there's obviously the question of what happens if, in game day 3, let's call it, 2 or 3 players from different teams test positive. I mean, what then? Do you just carry on regardless, keep testing and hope you don't lose too many? Do you allow teams to bring in more and more players you start bringing players in now from the youth team to pad out your squad? It's just very, very messy. And right now, I don't think the Premier League or the clubs really know how this is going to work, really, ultimately.
Yeah, Charlie, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I don't think they know what's going on. I think they're desperate for some sort of sign from a European league. Obviously, the K-League started up this weekend, but they're looking for a European league of a country who've been affected in a similar way. We're looking at Spain, we're looking at Italy, desperate to just figure out some sort of blueprint where they can say, look, we can follow this model to go forward in a safe way. Obviously, anyone who has any hand in the money pots, let's say, would be very, very positive on the idea of them coming back. whereas literally everyone else, I think, is probably slightly against it. Does anyone know what's going on? No. Do any of the people in charge know what's going on? No. The fact we keep getting these random leaks about what's happening here and what's happening there shows that everyone's just sort of got mad split decisions on everything, because that's just the way these things work. There's a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, and it will be, because in the same way that think about it on a human level, right? In the same way that every one of us probably is dealing with the whole thing in a very different way. Every single club owner will think about it differently. Every single footballer will probably think about it slightly differently. I think ultimately the most powerful people in this situation are the players. As much as UEFA want to set deadlines, as much as the FA want to set deadlines and say what has to happen, the Premier League say, oh, well, we're not going to null and void the season, so we're going to do this, that, and the other. Simply put, if the players say, look, we're not playing, if the PFA say it, if the captains say it, look, we're not playing until certain things are in place, or we're just not playing at all, then that's what's going to happen. And that's the fact of the matter. The players have the importance in this scenario, because ultimately they're the significant chance of the people whose lives are essentially on the line. Personally, I don't think it should happen. I think it's a stupid thing. I think we should have not avoided it already, or just finished it somehow, like without playing the games. Because it's not only the players, it's also the coaches that are at risk. It's also everyone at the club who's at risk. It's also every single person who works in TV who's at risk. There is a hell of a lot of skin in this game, a stupid amount. And to do it for the sake of money, although I understand is the wrong thing. But what's going to happen? Fuck knows. I have no clue, bruv. Literally could not know less. It could be anything. Tomorrow we could wake up and there could be a story going, the Premier League starts 12th of June. It could wake up and go to Premier League's council till next year. And I'd be like, yeah, makes sense. Either way, I've got no clue.
Chris, what's your point?
I mean, yeah, he banged it pretty much straight on. There's not going to be a right way this is handled. Regardless of what the decision ends up being, someone somewhere is going to be pissed off about it. With the points per game, the table that Tommy was referring to, where we get relegated, I just want to make it known that if we were to use that table as who gets relegated, who stays up, we get relegated by less than 2/10 of a point. So, I mean, I've also seen another report that says that if the games aren't played out and it's not null and void, the relegated teams are going to be suing. So you're going to have court battles for God knows how long, figuring out what happens with that. And then on top of that as well, you already have different other leagues taking different stances, like the French league crowned the champion. I think it was the Belgian league who straight up canceled altogether. So, I mean, no one's on the same page. Everyone's doing their own kind of system. So it just doesn't make any sense right now.
It's a bit like what's going on in America, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Premier League very soon have to set out the exact course ahead. They have to get rid of all this uncertainty and say, listen, we want to finish the season. Government says we can do it home and away. We've spoken to the relevant medical professionals who've advised us on how we can do it safely. This is how we do it. Here are the steps we take. This is how we run out the season. And it will be as safe as possible for everyone because ultimately they're going to have to convince the players that it is safe for them to come back and play in these games. That's ultimately what it will come down to. They've got to get the systems in place. They've got to put it out there and say, this is how we do it. And you will be as safe as it's possible for you to be. And we can run it off like this. It will work. They've got to solve that issue right now.
The issue ends up also being is that I remember a report from like a week or two or so ago. I don't know, days have just started blending together. That they say that they have to finish the league by the end of June to be able to begin preparation for the next season. And also they're saying that they need 3 weeks for players to get back up to fitness to be able to play matches again. Which, if that's the case, I mean, you're looking at beginning of June right now to play however many games is left. So it has to be decided within the next probably week for there to be any chance of them playing it out. If not, then they have to decide whether or not they want to do this points per game or however they want to do it, or if they just want to null and void it. So I think a decision has to come within the next week.
And the Premier League are playing a game of chicken basically with the clubs at this point, because if you think about it from a legal standpoint and you think about the arguments that be made, now again, disclaimer, not a lawyer, don't know if you can tell, not a lawyer man, not a law man, right? But if you think about it from that point of view, whoever's getting relegated is starting a court case regardless. It's happening right now. Like, it doesn't matter who gets relegated. If someone gets relegated, a court case is happening. Doesn't matter how they get relegated, a court case is happening. If you think about it from that point of view, the Premier League's defence is to say, we've given you the option to try and not get relegated. So the longer this stalls out, it doesn't actually work for clubs, because the longer this stalls out and the more options the Premier League puts on the table, if a club then votes against that and says, no, we're not playing, but then they get relegated, the Premier League can go, well, we gave you the option to stay up. We've given you all of these different ways in which you were able to stay up, but you didn't choose that. So the longer this actually goes on, it's not that good for clubs, but it's just a situation where no one wins at this point, apart from, well, literally no one wins.
The league's almost kind of baiting players into saying, all right, we'll play. So I think that there will be games to some extent. Personally, is it the right idea right now? I'm not sure. I mean, here in America, we're still debating on if Major League Baseball is happening. That season hasn't even started yet, and they were in the middle of spring training. So, I mean, no one knows exactly how sports are going to happen. The NBA, it's same situation. So there's no right answer. There never will be. Someone's going to be pissed off one way or the other.
Well, I think the best case scenario, and I think the Premier League desperately want to do it, is to finish out the season on a home and away basis behind closed doors. At least that ties up all the loose ends. At least if the teams get to play all their games, home and away, play the season to a conclusion, there's no complaints left, really. You know, as long as the players are all on board and you have your team together and you can train and play your games, that kind of puts all of these other issues or potential landmines down the road, you know, to bed. They're gone. So, you know, hopefully that they can find a way to do that. I really hope they do, because as you guys were saying already, you know, anything else can get very, very messy.
Yeah. And the other thing we may have missed is look at the UFC over the weekend. They had a really good show. They had one person that they caught with it, didn't affect anyone else, didn't even go to the show, got it all sorted beforehand. So the UFC could be a blueprint for some of the football teams to look at and see how it's done. Or the Premiership can be the ones to have a look at.
I think there's probably a problem of scale here. You know, if you can get a couple of guys into a ring to fight, probably a lot easier than you can get, you know, 20 teams of 11, squads, whatever the squad is, you know, subs and players onto fields all over the country. There is a scale issue, I think, but not that there will be no lessons to be learned, but sure you can take something from it, but there is a scale issue as well, you know.
You know, and don't forget the fighters do have their entourage as well, so that is something to take in consideration.
You know, one thing in this country, the one league that really lucked out due to their timing was the NFL.
Yep,
because they were, you know, they finished, they had the Super Bowl, everything was fine, and then, you know, they don't start up playing matches until you know,
August.
September. Or August.
So, preseason,
there's still time, and they had their draft, which in this country is a big deal, and this time it was a huge deal because nobody had anything to watch. But the draft came on, and it lasted for like 3 days, and you know, everybody was talking about it. It was a great thing. So I must, you know, the NFL has kind of lucked out on their timing of their league. So
it was better than the normal draft, actually.
Yeah,
it was the most viewed ever.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking about people testing positive, let's be real. If you're a footballer, the way how badly this government has dealt with it, the only way you might be able to get a test is if you're actually a Premier League footballer. That's how bad it's got. So we'll see. I mean, I'm in no doubt that this is the thing. I had this conversation with Gio. I mean, I'm in no doubt that the situation they would be in would be as safe as humanly possible. The problem is I don't know if it being as safe as possible at this point is safe enough. Just because you can do everything to prevent something doesn't mean it won't happen. So,
yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Well, guys, we're going on for almost an hour now, so I think we have hammered the point home.
All right.
You like that? Getting the old puns in. Big thank you to everyone in the chat. There's at least 14 of you, so we've only got 6 likes. So make sure the other, 8 people like the show. I hope you guys in the room have liked the show as well. But thank you. There's no PowerPoint. Sorry. Maybe it's a tough time at the moment. I'm a bit all over the show, but I might do another PowerPoint just for you guys too. But yeah, guys, is there anything else you want to chat about, or have we covered everything?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, tomorrow night, right? They have a big game show tomorrow night with Adam, and on the Hammer Shots, aptly named after the Hammer Shots we drink at Stowe's Bar in downtown Philadelphia, if West Ham ever score. So,
I'm going to get my little hammer shot
beautiful.
from
So
San Antonio. Lovely.
Yeah,
while we're pimping stuff, because she'll have a go at me if I don't, let's go wild in the aisles. Hammer it out Thursday, Rebecca and Katie K, because she'll have a go at me if I don't say it. So hammer it out Thursday. Hammer it out.
Ooh.
Yes, Becca. We've created a monster here. 3 weeks, and now she's got her own show.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy. I'm actually looking forward. I can't actually wait.
Typical of Rebecca. It sounds really dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, bless her. Cutie. Right. Well, thank you very much for watching the show, guys. We have hammered out all our points that we needed to. Make sure you tune in next week for my Hammer the Show next week. Come on, you Irons.
All right.
Come on, you Irons.
See you later.
Take it, everyone. And let's say